Hello, I'm Super Lizard Mo, and this is my tutorial on how to cut the aces. First, performance. Jim, cut an ace. Some of you may have seen Ricky J do this. My performance is based on his, and it's how I think he does it, but I may be wrong. So, I haven't seen any literature on this subject other than Bill Goodwin's Spectator Cuts the Aces, which is a good trick and you should definitely check out. But, and so it's how I think he did it, and I haven't seen any other literature, so I hope it's original. Alright, so I've just cut the aces. Alright, now the secret to doing this is all in pegging the card. If you have a designated card pegger, a regular card pegger, you can just use that. But I don't, so I used a mechanical pencil. It's ordinary, except I took all the lead out. It's important that you don't have lead coming through and putting a hole in your card. So you're going to want to take it, the pencil, put the finger on the other side, and move it back and forth in a very small area. You don't want to create a huge bump. A tiny bump is enough. If you can see that right there, there's the bump. It's pretty big, but it doesn't have to be that big. It could be much smaller. You just need it to create a very tiny break. Once you peg the card, you have a couple options. The first card, you have a couple options. Do you want to cut all the aces the same way? By that I mean, do you want to cut it so once you've separated the pack, do you want the ace to be there? Or it could be face down here, like I did. To change this, basically all you have to do is peg on different points on the card. If you want to cut it with your left hand, you're going to want to peg the other side. Something else to keep in mind, you cannot peg two sides of a card. Don't only peg once. As soon as you've pegged twice, it's going to create a break on either this side or both sides. You don't want to peg it on both sides, because then you'll see a break and it'll be pretty obvious what's going on. You want to be able to show the deck without breaks or protrusions. So it takes a little bit of practice. So you just take the pencil, move it, create your break. Okay? Got it? Alright, you're going to want to do this before a couple times on ad cards, or these were just spare cards I had lying around. So you're going to want to do that and practice a couple times and then do aces in the deck. Alright. Alright. The first thing I'm going to explain is how to properly spread 4 aces so you don't show your pegs. My pegs are all a little bit below the index, and they're all on the same side, so I don't have to spread them in any fancy fashion. Simply spread them, but I keep this hand a little bit farther forward than I normally would. You can also fan them, but I don't think that looks as nice because you can't actually use a standard fan position because that would show this peg, though it hides all 3 others. Be careful not to have the pegs closer to your audience or spectator. This is my older brother. He's working quietly. I'm not going to disturb him. So you've got the aces. This is hidden. You may want to do this before your routine and after. So once you're here, flip the aces over. At this point, the peg is now on this side. I can check. It's going to be here. Drop them on top. I like to drop them on top and then slip cut them one at a time into the middle. And now that this is completely covered, I can show that the aces are actually in the middle. Square it up. And now I know I have the side with the breaks. Show there to be no protrusions or breaks on this side. You can only do it with one side. And there's a blind spot if I have pegged only on one side. I can also show this side. So I want my spectator positioned here, so that they can see this and a bit of this, and it'll look okay. Don't position your spectator behind you, next to you, or on the side where your pegs. The break will be smaller here very, very small, and they probably won't notice it, but don't take unnecessary risks. So then, the time has come for you to actually cut the ace. This is pretty simple. All you're going to do, lift up. You'll usually get an ace. It'll fall away solidly. It won't partially fall away in chunks. For example, if I cut somewhere that's not an ace, say I cut there again, and I let the cards fall, eventually they'll fall together in a group to the next ace. Now in this case, it didn't actually become the next ace, but it was an ace further down. Usually, you just lift up, you get an ace. Now, there's another idea for a drop production where you drop the cards, you get the ace. Now, I got the ace over here this time, which sometimes can happen. That's just luck and a bit of how you hold the cards and chance, mostly. It will usually fall the way you've pegged it, so it's very predictable almost all the time. So just, if it does, don't be surprised, just go on with your routine. It looks nice. If you get it here, just turn this face up before you grab this. Alright, stay tuned for just some final thoughts. And that's it. Some other things to think about. Don't let it get repetitive. You're cutting 4 different aces. Don't make it all about, oh, I just cut this ace, I cut this ace. Talk. Have some pattern. Don't just have it be about cutting the aces. If you watch Ricky Jay do it, it's much more entertaining than I did it. My pattern's very uninspired and not interesting at all. Now, if you don't cut an ace, like what just happened there, say something about, oh, it's not a deck of aces, and just go back and shuffle up the deck and cut your next ace. Don't let it stop you. Don't slow down. Don't act surprised. It works about 99% of the time, but occasionally you'll make a mistake. You won't cut the ace correctly. It will fall away. Your peg will shrink. These things, I've been doing this for about a week, 2 weeks now since I thought of the idea, and it's not worked once or twice, and I've done it hundreds of times. So it's really not something you need to be constantly worrying about. With enough practice, you'll very rarely mess up. Get your ace. Now, if you want to use this for something else, for example, if you pegged a different card, you could force that card and then say something, have you cut to it, or have your spectator shuffle the deck and then cut to it. Now, I'm going to use a glide force. You could use a river force. So I'll use a river force and call stop, wherever. You display their card, in this case the ace of spades, because I've only pegged the aces in this deck. Put it back into the middle. They shuffle, 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 shuffle. They cut it. Whatever they want to do to make sure them feel it's thoroughly mixed, and you, without doing anything, cut the card. And it's not hard, and it'll look impressive. Same technique, just you force it, you let it mix, and then you make sure it's in the center. This also works best when it's in the center. The aces on the extreme, top or bottom, are very hard to cut, because you're usually not going to get them just by chance or letting the cards fall. You've got to be pretty specific. So as I said earlier, know where your breaks are. Alright, I hope you enjoy this, and don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks.